Maybe I invite you to think differently. Is there necessarily more risk if you get a higher return? We'll talk more about that. But something to think about, the money you may be leaving on the table through not thinking through what your other investment opportunities are, or more importantly, being paralyzed by fear about what could happen if you take a bold step and don't just go along with what everyone's told you to invest in. It could cost you $4 million, $5 million throughout your portfolio. Maybe if you want something different than what most people have, you need to study and learn how to do things differently than most people do. I haven't seen many people talk about the cost of inaction and quantifying it and really leaning into saying, well, I'll do it later. Well, what does do it later mean? What could that cost you? Time is going to go by whether you take action or not. We are halfway through 2024. Where do you want to be in July of 2025? Will you look back a year from now thinking, gosh, I wish I would have taken action. I wish I would have done something that would have led me closer to my abundance goals.
Welcome to the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. Your guide on this journey is Amy Sylvis. If you're ready for the secrets to an abundant life, hit that subscribe button now, and let's get started.
Hello, Secrets to Abundant Living podcast community. I'm so excited to talk to you today. This is Amy Sylvis, your host and the founder and principal of Sylvis Capital. We have a really exciting topic today. I know I say that every week, but I do think about quite a bit and try to come up with exciting topics that are game-changing, paradigm-shifting, helpful, educational, all the good stuff. So I think you will find this to be a paradigm shift for you today. So I think most of you have been paying attention to the news. It's an election year. The economy might be going into a recession. Interest rates are at a 40-year high. There's a lot of reasons to just sit back and say, well, I'm going to put my money under a mattress, or I'm going to leave my 401k or IRA exactly the way it is because I don't know what's coming, or I'm going to just invest in a CD or a high yield savings account, wait it out, and just sit back until the media tells me things are better, things feel better, there are less layoffs, et cetera, which I completely understand. It's everyone listening, myself included, is busy. You have hobbies, you have a life, you have family, you have friends, you have ways that you give back to the community. You may be working. So it's hard to dive in and pay attention to every single nuance of investing, which is why I'm here to give you some education, some shortcuts, some best practices from others who live a very financially abundant life. So as a reminder to pull back, we say this on a lot of our solo episodes, but I do think it's worth repeating what our goal is here. And the goal is abundance, of course. We want to be able to do what we want, when we want, where we want, with whom we want, and for however long we want. And the way to get to all of those abundance metrics to live life on our terms is to create hands-off income. Income that we don't have to trade our time for, income that comes while we sleep, while we vacation, while we're doing whatever we feel like doing. That really is the key to unlock a lot of life's abundance. So if you're listening to this show 20 episodes in, I know that you're on board. But as we think about this financial abundance that we talk about, there are many reasons to feel overwhelmed, to feel that maybe there are a lot of reasons to not do anything. And media, culture, schooling, friends and family, they help that too. But I want to submit to you that there is another perspective that you may not have thought of, that you may not have heard about in school or read about in books or heard on podcasts. And that is the risk and cost of inaction. So it's easy to see, 2008 stock market crash, stock market went down. Woo, that was a risk. How can we avoid that risk? Just one example. But what happens when you are frozen with fear or analysis paralysis and you decide not to see what else is out there that can get you closer to your abundance goals. I've been doing some calculations and want to give you some hard and fast numbers to think through. Again, these are just numbers to quantify this concept of inactivity or of being stuck in analysis paralysis, or just saying, hey, just going to leave things as is because I'm afraid, I'm uncertain, I don't quite know what to do. So go with me on this journey, would you? Let's talk through this. The scenario that we're going to think about is we have $100,000 and we're going to invest it for 20 years. And let's say what you're currently investing in returns 10% a year on average. So what does that give you over 20 years? Compound interest, right? So year one, if you invest $100,000 at a 10% return, you'll have $110,000 after year one. After year two, $121,000. After year three, $131,100. And at year 20, that $100,000 turns into $672,000, almost $673,000. We'll use round numbers. Now, this doesn't take into account inflation. This doesn't take into account taxes. We're going to keep this nice and simple for illustrative purposes, if you will. Now, what if you found an investment that gave you 20% a year? Now, you may be saying, oh, that's great, Amy, but how much more risk do I have to take on to get that 20% year over year return? Yeah, maybe more risk, but maybe not. Maybe I invite you to think differently about, is there necessarily more risk if you get a higher return? We'll talk more about that. But let's talk about what a 20% year on year return would be with $100,000 over 20 years. So year one, you'd have $120,000. Year two, you'd have $144,000. Year three, $172,800. In year 20, drum roll, please. Who can do the math? $3,833,760. Let's see if I can pronounce this again. $3,833,760. That is a difference of $3,161,010. Just the 10% delta, earning 10% a year versus 20% per year. Imagine what 3 million additional dollars could do for you on your abundance journey. What would that look like? How much more time could you spend with your kids? How much more time could you spend traveling? How much freedom would you have to retire early or to take care of your parents in their old age without having to worry about juggling a W-2? How much could you give back to your community with that charity, creating that legacy that you've always wanted to do? 3 million, even if you take inflation into account and taxes, is a big amount of money. It's huge. You found $3 million on the ground. I'm sure you'd pick it up. No strings attached, right? So I want to quantify in just this simple example, the cost of inactivity. All of us are on a journey to maximize our abundance. And that abundance, of course, is not just money. It's not. That's why we have guests and people on this podcast that are doing incredible things, creating abundance in their life in all sorts of ways, not just financially. But you're going to be able to get to your other abundance goals in your life the quicker you're able to create financial freedom. You can be financially independent, not just relying on your job. I'm not saying you should, but if this is your goal, this might be a helpful tactic. You may think that investing in something that returns 10% a year, I'm not going to call out what, may be the best risk-adjusted return that you can get. Think about risk, take that into account versus the return you can get. Maybe that sounds good. Maybe schooling, maybe your financial advisor, maybe media, maybe books told you that, oh, well, the more return you get, the more risk you have to take. So, good luck with that. Be careful. And it's true. If you put your money under your mattress, I guess that could be safer, but is it? Is it safer in terms of, is there less downside risk? Maybe. But we've talked about inflation on this podcast before. So maybe not. Your house burns down, God forbid, under your mattress. But understanding this opportunity cost, this risk of inaction, is not taken into account, I would argue, as much as it should be. Now, again, I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm not telling you what to invest in, not even giving you financial examples of what could give you that type of return. But I do want to challenge you with the fact that perhaps some people have told you this risk reward paradigm. Maybe they're a little bit influenced by the fact that they don't make money off of you in fees, trading fees, asset management fees, whatever fees, if you're not invested inside of their system. If you invest in a business or private equity, how do some people make money off of you? Or if you buy gold and silver bullion, or if you do private lending, or if you invest in real estate, commercial real estate, not a REIT. A REIT is a stock pretending to be real estate. Nothing wrong with it, but it's not actual real estate. But you invest in actual real estate. Your financial advisor, your stock guy or gal, Wall Street as a whole can't make money off of you as easily if you go outside of their paradigm and invest in alternative assets. Not saying you should, not saying you shouldn't, but something to think about when you think about the money you may be leaving on the table through not thinking through what your other investment opportunities are, or more importantly, being paralyzed by fear about what could happen if you take a bold step and don't just go along with what everyone's told you to invest in. It could cost you $3 million, $4 million, $5 million, on and on and on throughout your portfolio. Maybe there's more risk, maybe there isn't. Maybe it's worth looking into.
Have you ever thought about having multiple streams of income? Instead of relying on just one stream of income where you're trading your time for money, how would you like to free up more of your time and live a more abundant life? As a listener of the show, you're invited to attend one of our upcoming trainings where I'll give you an inside look into how you can add passive income and get all the other perks of recession-resistant real estate investing without the headaches of being a landlord. We'll also be sharing some hidden mistakes to avoid and the criteria I personally look for when evaluating potential investment opportunities. To reserve your seat for free, go to sylviscapital.com/webinar. Again, that special link to reserve your seat for free is sylviscapital.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you on the training. And now back to the show.
So I've asked a lot of questions of you right now, right? But I'm doing so because I don't hear a lot of people talking about this. There aren't many Americans who have the time freedom, the financial freedom, the abundance of relationships, the abundance of diving into their hobbies and spending their time as they wish. Maybe if you want something different than what most people have, you need to study and learn how to do things differently than most people do. For me, that was huge. Not for everybody, but I haven't seen many people talk about the cost of inaction and quantifying it and really leaning into saying, well, I'll do it later. Well, what does do it later mean? What could that cost you? Excuse me. What could that mean for your abundance journey? Time is going to go by whether you take action or not. We are halfway through 2024, almost exactly halfway through 2024. Where do you want to be in July of 2025? Closer to your abundance journey? Do you want to have a more robust financial freedom vehicle so you can spend your time as you wish, giving back, not being a time slave at work? Or will you look back a year from now thinking, gosh, I wish I would have taken action. I wish I would have done something that would have led me closer to my abundance goals. And quantifiably, If we look at $3 million over 20 years, you can check my math on this, but it's over $100,000 a year. Again, I'm not saying you should invest in something that gives you 20% a year, but if you let fear paralyze you and inactivity, it could cost you over $100,000 a year. Something to think about. It's not just about losing money in actual terms, your balance decreasing, but it's about what you could have made that could have compounded year over year. This is a short episode today, y'all. So we got in, we got out, we covered the topic. I gave you some examples, but we're all on this financial freedom and, more importantly, abundance journey together. And it's so important that we think about every aspect of this journey. And we understand that if we want something different, we have to do something different. We do what everyone else is doing. As I previously said, we're going to get the same results. And for some people, that's fine. But I'm not looking to wait until my 60s, especially given my personal health circumstance. But I'm sure you all have your reasons too. But I'm not waiting to enjoy life. I'm not going to be a time slave. I'm going to own my time. I'm going to educate myself by reading books, listening to podcasts, finding mentors of people who are where I want to be, and I'm going to create that reality. I'm not going to do what society tells me. Maybe some things are great, but most people in the US are not in a great financial circumstance, and that's not going to be me. I'm not going to let inactivity cost me. All right, y'all. I hope you're having a wonderful summer. Husband Joel and I are off tomorrow to Hearst Castle, which is in San Simeon in California, up the coast. So we're going to enjoy that fun adventure. If you haven't been, you've got to go. But I hope you're doing incredibly abundant things with your summer. I appreciate you all being on this abundance journey with me. I love doing this podcast. You all are fantastic. The feedback has just been so fun. If you haven't already given us a review and rated the podcast, please do so. It helps tremendously. And of course, if this episode resonated with you, forward it to just one friend. Please pay it forward and share the knowledge. Thanks, y'all, for joining me on this short episode. We'll see you next week. Have an abundant day. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that will empower you on your journey towards abundance. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us, and it helps others discover the secrets to an abundant life too. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn, Amy Sylvis. Keep striving for your goals, nurturing your relationships, and embracing the adventure that is life. Until next time, we wish you an abundantly fulfilling day.